Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, anyway, man, the NFL season, of course, for those of you that watch NFL football, or for those of you overall that, are very interested in American football, you know that the season opener happened yesterday between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. I believe it was in Tampa Bay. Overall, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings yesterday, which is a sports bar. Overall, watched it with a friend of mine, and it was a pretty damn good game when it came down to it. I believe the final score, maybe I'm wrong about this, I think it was 31-29. Very, very closely contested game. Thought that it was a fantastic game. Both me and my friend, we were predicting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the game because, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in my opinion, they just have more in their team. In my opinion, they're clearly the more talented team, offensively and defensively. And on top of that, Dallas, you just never know exactly where they're going to go. And of course, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN First Take, he really, really, really loves to hate on the Dallas Cowboys. You know, Stephen A. Smith, he's kind of that person overall to where he kind of reminds me of a lot of the people out there when it comes to Dallas Cowboys, because I understand why a certain amount of people get annoyed with the Dallas Cowboy fan base. They're kind of like the New York Knicks fan base, or overall some of those other fan bases when it comes down to it, to where they always say overall they're going to do this, do that, do that. And because they have such a rich history, they have such a big fan base when it comes down to it. But, I've never personally hated the Cowboys. But, of course, in these videos, I'm not supposed to be loving or hating anybody. I'm just supposed to give my logical and objective opinion. Anyways, Stephen A. Smith, he's going to do his regular hating job on the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to be interested also to see what Tim Tebow has to say. Anyways, I'm going to say this. I thought what I seen from the Dallas Cowboys yesterday, sure, they may have lost a game and there were certain things that they had to have tightened up overall later on down the line. But if the Dallas Cowboys, if that is basically the potential that they could have all season, I think that they could be going places. What I'll say is this. If the Dallas Cowboys, if they continue to play like that, I could easily see them making the NFC Championship game. Now, excuse me, the NFC is a very, very talented conference when it comes down. I guess, both the AFC and both the NFC, they're both extremely talented with some very great teams. And I'm going to be very interested to see how Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys handle things later on down the season. There's going to be some teams overall that you are going to have to compete with. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers obviously are probably going to be there. But I'm going to be more interested to see what Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys do against certain teams like the Seattle Seahawks, the LA Rams, the Arizona Cardinals overall, and maybe whoever makes it out of the NFC South besides maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You never know. Jameis Winston, he is now with the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton is a pretty good offensive coach, even though I think at times he can be a bit overstated, but, it is what it is. Anyways, when it comes down to it overall, we'll see how they work out. New Orleans is very, very talented. I'm just not sure if Jameis Winston is going to lead them to a great amount. And my team, the Carolina Panthers, I'm not really, predicting them to make a huge surge. But what I'll say is this. If they were the surprise team in the NFC this year, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised, let's say, if they went 9-7 or something like that. We'll see what happens. If I had to predict, I think the Carolina Panthers more than likely are probably going to go pretty much same as last year, about 6-10. Well, now that I remember, there's 17 games this year, so maybe 6-11, or overall maybe 7-10, somewhere around there. That's pretty much what I predict for them. So we'll see what happens. But if they ended up being in the wild card, I would not be surprised at all. And the Dallas Cowboys are probably going to have to compete against certain teams like that. But let me tell you this. This is just my personal opinion. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys may have lost yesterday. I personally liked what I saw. I like the defense. I like the offense. This might be the most complete Dallas Cowboys team that I've seen in a very, very, very long time. Probably ever since that one run that they had that I believe they either went 13-3 or 12-4, and I believe lost in the second round to Aaron Rodgers. Probably a game that they should have won. But it is what it is. Anyways, let's see what they both have to say. I'm going to tune in.
Was this more about Brady being Brady or more Cowboys heartbreak? Absolutely, more about Brady being Brady and the Bucs being the Bucs, and having all 22 back, having a great coaching staff, knowing exactly what they needed to do to win the game, and finding a way to get it done at the end. And listen, I know Steven's going to find some way to criticize the Cowboys because, honestly, the only thing he probably criticized more than me is the Cowboys. So he's going to find some way to do that. But this isn't a time where you go criticize the Cowboys. The Cowboys played fantastic. This is more about the Bucs being maybe the best team in the NFL. One of the best teams in the NFL, but I was absolutely impressed with both teams, especially...
I agree with Tim Tebow here. What I'll say is this. I think the Dallas Cowboys, I thought they actually looked fantastic. I was expecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win probably by a couple of touchdowns. Now, I told my friend that I was going to go watch it with yesterday. I said, well, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up pulling it out because sometimes Tom Brady, within those first 4 games of the season, sometimes he maybe can start off a bit slow. So you never know exactly where he's going to be. I thought Tom Brady looked pretty decent yesterday. I think he can sharpen up on a couple of things. But all in all, Tom Brady, if he continues to play like that, they're going to be right in Super Bowl contention once again because they've retained so many of their players. I thought maybe that a couple of players on defense maybe had gone away. They're pretty much all there. Shaquille Barrett is still there overall. Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul. I'm trying to think overall who else. There's a couple of other players. Oh, yeah, Levante David. That defense is still extremely stout, especially that front line when it comes down to it. That defense is very, very good. The offense is still very talented as ever. Gronkowski, even though I don't think he's the same tight end that he used to be, he still very clearly can catch certain routes. He still overall is very, very good in certain routes. Very good overall in certain touchdown passes. I'm not sure if he's ever going to return to the same tight end that he used to be overall, where he was breaking certain records. But Rob Gronkowski, the way that he's looking, he's at least going to be able to get you 10 touchdowns a year. Possibly even more if he continues playing the way that he is playing. But we'll see what happens. And Antonio Brown did absolutely fantastic yesterday. The only wide receiver that I thought was a bit off yesterday was Chris Godwin. And even he redeemed himself a little bit in the final part. So it is what it is.
The Cowboys have a lot of weapons. The Cowboys have a great quarterback. The Cowboys did everything to win.
What I'll say is this. I'm not sure exactly where I would rank Dak. I did a video yesterday where I talked about Lamar Jackson. And in my opinion, I said that Lamar Jackson is not elite. And of course, some people may not like that, but it is what it is. Some of you may be wondering where I would rank Dak. Would I rank Dak Prescott above Lamar Jackson? I'm not sure if I would quite rank him above Lamar Jackson, but Dak Prescott certainly, in my opinion, would be in my top 10 quarterbacks right now. I thought Dak looked very, very good yesterday. I always thought that after these past couple of seasons that Dak Prescott was not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. But what I'm going to say is this. Dak Prescott, if he even leads that team to the NFC Championship this year, I would say this. I would say that that's pretty much a max-out season. If he's even able to lead them to the NFC Championship, which of course is still something pretty big because you got a lot of teams to worry about. You got the Green Bay Packers, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you possibly got the New Orleans Saints, maybe the Carolina Panthers if they make a surge. Who knows? Because Matt Rule, he actually seems like, he's somewhat of a competent coach, but it's only his second season there, so we'll see what happens. I just don't trust Sam Darnold, leading them anywhere, but we'll see what happens. There's some NFC teams to worry about. And, of course, that's also, assuming that the LA Rams may possibly go somewhere. The Arizona Cardinals, they may be a little bit of a problem as well. So Dak Prescott, if he really wants to impress me this season, he's at least going to have to get past some of those teams. Like I said, if the Arizona Cardinals, if they make the playoffs, you're going to have to beat them. The Green Bay Packers even, Because right now, at least from what I see, like the Dallas Cowboys, they look more talented than a lot of the teams in the NFC. But we'll see what happens.
This game for Brady. I'm impressed with both these teams. An incredible way for the NFL to kick off.
Who's been talking to you? I mean, who's the producer that got in his ear and told him to come at me like that? I can't believe my friend coming at me like that.
Stephen, this has nothing to do with the producer, okay?
You're coming at me like that. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe I'm here saying, you know what, we get in the Cowboys today, but I can't wait to talk to you about Florida down the line in a week because I'm keeping my eyes on those Florida Gators in college football week to week. Trust me on that. But I got to tell you, I'm not trying to sit up there and hate on the Cowboys. I'm just going to allow it.
Yeah, you are, Stephen A. You've been hating on the Cowboys for basically your whole damn life. It is what it is.
Everybody to gloss and glow over the Cowboys the way that they're doing. Let's look at the Cowboys for a second here. We didn't know. I said Dak Prescott did throw the ball 58 times. Now, he looked great. Ezekiel Elliott.
I thought that Dak Prescott also looked very good. He looked very, very good. I think Dak Prescott overall, he actually is starting to make better decisions with the football. I think that, sometimes Dak Prescott, in my opinion, was never a dumb quarterback. He's not a Jameis Winston. He's not a Cam Newton or something like that to where he's going to make so many mistakes with the football. And let me say this, even though I would put Lamar Jackson ahead of Dak Prescott can make certain throws that Lamar Jackson cannot make. So with this improved defense, with them still looking to have a decent offensive line, them having that elite running game back now with Ezekiel Elliott, overall, at least it looks like he's going to be able to do something with them. At least maybe. It looks like he could at least maybe get somewhere around 800 to 1,000 yards this season. We'll see what happens. But when it comes down to it, like I said, I really like the way the Dallas Cowboys looked yesterday. I thought that they looked fantastic. Sure, they lost, but, I thought they looked very good. I think the expectations for the Dallas Cowboys this season should at least be the NFC Championship. That's at least what they should be aiming for. And on top of that, to win the division easily, 12-4, because I don't see a lot of competition in the NFC East right now. You have the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they're not really much of a threat anymore, at least from what it seems like. The Giants, I mean, they haven't been a threat for a really long damn time. And then, of course, you have the Washington football team. They're okay, but, if Dallas is worth their salt, they should be able to beat them. They really should be able to beat them twice. But we'll see what happens.
Of course, you got Zach Bone, and now you can't run the football as effectively as you're going to do. He can't get to the outside against that speedy defense, that front seven, as easily as he would against other opponents. So you weren't going to run the football that much. You were going to throw it to Gallup. You were going to throw it to Amari Cooper. You were going to go throw it to CeeDee Lamb, and we know how elite those dudes are. That offense is a given. Defensive.
I really like that offense. And let me tell you what, I actually really like that defense. Stephen A. Smith, he might try to tear up that defense. Let me tell you what, I actually like that defense. They got multiple takeaways yesterday. I thought that they did very, very good. That Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, first of all, is really one of the best defenses that I've seen within the past I don't know how many years. And their offense is extremely talented as well. So, I know a certain amount of people that say, well, they did allow 30-something points. Let me state this. It was the first game of the season, and with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Now, if you're facing the Green Bay Packers or some of these other offenses, that are elite offenses, you are going to have to, learn how to stop them. You're going to have to try and contain them to about 20-something points. Can the Dallas, Cowboys defense do that? I'm not necessarily sure, but what I will say is this. This defense has improved from what I've seen in the past. I really like this defense.
They look better, there's no doubt about that, but how much worse could you look compared to last year? They were historically bad last year. And so everybody's sitting up there and talking about the Cowboys. Oh, look at how they look. Let me remind y'all, Ronald Jones fumbled. All right, now, granted, Dan Quinn's the new defensive coordinator. He's been working on them, putting boxing gloves on them. And hard. I watched soft knocks when they were on there, okay? And he was showing them how to punch the ball out. Okay, so Ronald Jones fumbled. Leonard Fournette dropped the little gimme short pass, screen pass from Tom Brady. That was another turnover. Chris Godwin in the end zone that would have put them up and sealed the deal in the game. He fumbles in the end zone, get right before the end zone, gets the ball knocked out. I'm saying.
Yeah, Chris Godwin certainly could have performed better yesterday. There was one pass that Tom Brady pretty much had right on target with Chris Godwin, and he dropped it. That was one touchdown that could have, cost them. And then, of course, Chris Godwin overall. But to be fair, that was kind of punched out, the last one. But Chris Godwin, even though there were certain, key moments he had in the game, he could have played better. Oh, shit, I completely forgot. They still have Mike Evans on that team. God damn. They have Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Damn.
When you look at it from that perspective, the Dallas Cowboys got pretty lucky. They should have lost by more.
The Dallas Cowboys got pretty lucky. I'm not so sure about that, Stephen A. I think overall that, the defense, I think they created opportunities. I don't think that they got lucky at all. I think the offense did decently well yesterday, and I think that the defense did decently well. Now, what the Cowboys are going to have to prove to me is that they can play like that consistently, and you're going to have to win some of the bigger games. And sometimes quarterbacks, they learn how to do that. But Dak Prescott, he is within, I don't know what season this is for him now. But when it comes down to it, it is getting to that point to where it's like, okay, you need to, kind of put up or shut up. We'll see what happens. But Dak Prescott is going to have to learn how to win in those tight situations. And I'll give him a little bit of credit. I think overall that, he did very, very well when he needed to. He tried to put points on the board when he could. But the problem is overall is that defense, especially Shaq Barrett, he was really starting to get on Dak Prescott's ass at the end of that game when it came down to it. And on top of that, you just cannot give Tom Brady in that offense about a minute and 43 seconds left. That was way too much time. You cannot give Tom Brady shit. You can't even give Tom Brady less than a minute because he will march that football right up the damn field. It is what it is.
First 4 turnovers.
I just told you 2 that wasn't really forced, but 3, there was another one that was.
Hey, my friend,
Yes,
you're
sir.
looking at the mistakes on one side. Look at them on the other side. And by the way, you're saying Ronald Jones fumbled? I don't look at it that way. I think the defensive end went in there and punched it out like he was taught to do. Leonard Fournette, he did drop that, but you could also say, hey.
Leonard Fournette was astronomically bad yesterday, at least from what I've seen. And how I knew that was because my friend that I went to the sports bar with, he had him on his fantasy team, and he wasn't getting a hell of a lot of points at them. I'll just say that.
CeeDee Lamb was on a deep dig, and it went through.
As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if we're going to talk about them, I mean, they look spectacular. They look pretty good. They look like overall they could sharpen up on a few things, maybe. But, some people may make a big deal about it. My friend yesterday said, oh, well, Tampa Bay, after that performance, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Dallas actually is a little bit better than what he's giving them credit for and than what some other people are giving them credit for. Dallas is a team overall to where, like I said, if they continue to play like this, they could easily go 12-4. Easily, if they continue to be consistent. But we'll see what happens.
His hands, and that was a pick, right? So on both sides. Plus, you could look at a possible pass interference on the game-winning drive. So there's a lot of plays that are up in the air, and I think you could kind of go both sides. Plus, 2 missed field goals by Dallas. So there's a lot of plays if you're saying.
Yeah, that dude's got to go if they can find someone better. That kicker yesterday reminded me a lot of Carolina's ex-kicker, Graham Gano. He can make very, very good kicks in certain moments, but in a lot of pressurized situations, he's going to miss that kick because he just can't handle the pressure.
Oh, this. There's a lot of butts on both sides.
I don't want to interrupt my friend like that, but his debate skills are pretty damn good, so I'm going to have to amp it up just a little bit here. Tim Tebow, number 1, I brought up the touchdown that Chris Godwin had that ultimately the ball got knocked out. What about the bomb that he dropped that hit him right in the hands? That was a touchdown as well. That's 2 touchdowns right there. Let's not forget that. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers easily should have had about 40 points, okay? They gave it away. Let's understand that the Dallas Cowboys offense is elite. Let's not even discuss that. They are what they were supposed to be. Defensively, they're better because they can't be much worse. But we also got to take...
Defensively, I thought overall that they were decently good. Now, once again, they did allow 30-something points. But, I don't always look at that. Sometimes, once again, you do have to take a look at the offense. Well, we'll see what happens. Now, am I saying that this Dallas Cowboys defense, am I claiming them to be the 2016 Denver Broncos? Am I claiming them to be the Legion of Boom? No, I'm not. But let me tell you what, I like this defense a whole lot. I like it a whole lot. I think that it's very, very good. I think that it's a very, very, very good defense. This team kind of reminds me of the Carolina Panthers a few years ago. Except with the quarterback overall that makes less mistakes with the football. This is a very, very talented team. Hopefully, overall, they can actually go somewhere. Like I said, if they keep playing like that, and if they learn how to win in those big game situations, they could easily go 12-4, possibly make the NFC Championship. But we'll have to see about that.
Into consideration, Whitehead didn't play coming into the game. He was out. And then on top of that, kid, Bunton separated his elbow. So he was out. They've been decimated in their secondary in Tampa. Dallas was going up against that, too. We just going to sit here and ignore that?
Well, I don't think you need to ignore it. That's absolutely a good point. But also, you brought it up, but Zach Martin being out, one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, not being there, and so you can't get Zeke going at all, and that would give you even more balance. But I think where that changes is in the red zone. They were going up and down the field, but in the red zone, that's where Zeke has to come into play. That's where Zach Martin would come into play, is to have more balance in the red zone, so you're able to have those run-pass options, and also then you're able to get Dak on the edge even more. That's where I think the Cowboys, to really get to where they want to go of being a contender and making the playoffs, they got to get Zeke involved, but they also have to be able to score in the red zone, and I think that goes hand in hand.
Okay.
Overall, the team looked a lot better. Dan Quinn did a nice job with the defense.
I think they looked a lot better as well. I thought that they looked phenomenal, to be quite honest with you. So we'll see what they do.
And that's a great point about the Zach Martin, because I was going to get on you. The reason I thought we didn't see Zeke do anything was because you drafted him on your fantasy team, and you cursed it. Stephen A. is playing fantasy.
Stephen A., you don't have enough time for fantasy football. Are you kidding? You have 42 shows. How are you doing fantasy?
Tim, they got me to do it for the first time ever, okay? And I had the 5th pick, and the other 4 running backs I wanted were gone. What was I supposed to do?
So you go to his...
My friend that I went to the sports bar with yesterday, he had Rob Gronkowski on his bench, so he didn't get any of those damn points. He was he was super pissed. Oh, man. Anyway, but, when we talk about both these teams, Tampa Bay, they're going to be, in my opinion, if they keep playing like that, they're going to be in Super Bowl contention. I'm not sure exactly who they play next, but overall, it'll be very interesting. And Dallas, I'm not necessarily going to 100% call them Super Bowl contenders. But what I will say is this. If they made the NFC Championship this year, I would not be 100% surprised. That's what I'll say about them.
Zeke Elliott, and he has 11 carries. I blame you.
All right.
33 yards.
I'm still beating David Spade, though. I'm still beating him.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm still beating him.
Did you have a whole team in there with you drafting this for
Listen,
you? You know what you were doing.
Listen, Stephen A., we get you're famous. You don't got a name drop, all right? It's the beginning of the show, man.
It's too early for that. All right. So, Tim, yesterday on the show, Michael Strahan said that he doesn't see the Bucs repeating, not because of Tom Brady, but it's just too hard to do. Do you see them running it back this year?
Gosh, I love the Bucs. I love Brady.
Well, if you're asking me overall, do I believe that they could possibly do it? Yeah, I think they can possibly do it because they have a great coach. They have Bruce Arians. They have Tom Brady, who, of course, is, in my opinion, probably the greatest NFL player of all time, either him or Jerry Rice. And when it comes down to it overall, I mean, that team, I think it would have been a little bit different had they not been able to keep a lot of their players, but they kept so many of their players. In fact, to be honest with you, I don't know one elite or major player that they got rid of. They were able to keep Shaq Barrett. They were able to keep Ndamukong Kong Su. They were able to keep, what the hell is that linebacker's name? Levante David. They were able to keep all those guys, man. I mean, goddamn. And then on offense, you still have Antonio Brown, who looks even better this season. You still have Rob Gronkowski. You still have Mike Evans. You still have Chris Godwin. I mean, Jesus. We'll see what happens. And Leonard Fournette. I know that he didn't have the best first game, but who knows what he's going to do this season. That is still probably the most complete team in the NFL. We'll see what happens. Unless I see a major contender, or unless I see some major weak spots throughout, the next part of the season. So far, they're still my favorites to win the Super Bowl.
But dang, it's hard to repeat. It doesn't matter what level you're on. It is hard. I mean, think about all the good teams they have to go against. The Rams, the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's not only about do you have to be one of the best teams, but then you also have to be hot at the right time. You can't have injuries at the wrong time. You look at the Bucs most of last year, they weren't one of the best teams. But then at the end, they got hot. They got the best players back, and they started to peak at the right time. So much has to fall your way, and if I had to pick, I would...
Well, I agree a little bit that so much has to fall your way at times, but when you have a winner like Tom Brady that is the leader of this team and that can deliver the way that he delivers, there's a reason why he's a 7-time Super Bowl champion. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. Of course, injuries, barring overall, anything else that happens, I personally still have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as my favorites. I don't see another team that could beat them right now. If the Buffalo Bills were somehow to make the Super Bowl, which is possible, either the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills are my favorites to make it out of the AFC this year. Would not be surprised at all if the Buffalo Bills made it out, so we'll see. That would be tough. Bottom line is this for me. Tampa Bay, they're probably the most talented team in the whole entire league right now. So, we'll see what happens.
Probably say they wouldn't repeat just because the odds would say that. Not because I don't believe in them or believe in Brady, but just so many things have to go your way. It's just so hard.
Thanks for watching.
Anyways, that's really about it for today on this conversation. Thought that was a very interesting conversation. Anyways, just to finish this up about Dallas, I really like what I seen from Dallas yesterday. I thought that they were a very, very good team. Would I necessarily predict them to win the Super Bowl? Not necessarily, but if they made the NFC Championship, I would not at all be surprised. That is a very, very good team. Very, very good under-the-radar team right now overall. And I know some people are going to be like, what are you talking about? They're the Dallas Cowboys. They're never under the radar because they get so much publicity. I understand, but when it comes down to it, I'm not sure if a lot of people would have them, making it deep into the playoffs. Let me say this. I would not be surprised. Do not be surprised if they make a deep run in the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's really about it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see what they do. We'll see overall what happens. I hope overall that my expectations for them are correct. I'm hoping overall they go at least 12-4 or somewhere around there. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.